The Lincoln City Urban Renewal Agency meeting of November 25th, 2019 at 5:34 p.m. according to that clock. The Urban Renewal Agency reserves the right to add or delete items as needed, change the order of the agenda, and discuss any other business deemed necessary at the time of the meeting. All information for this meeting is available on the city's website under Agenda, Packets, and Video. And if you wish to speak on an agenda item or a non-agenda item, please sign up at the sheet near the entrance on that little table back there. And you will be able to speak under public comment section. We have roll call, please, Kathy.
Deanna Hinton.
Here.
Riley Hoagland.
Here.
Diane Coos.
Here.
Rick Mark.
Here.
Mitch Parsons.
Here.
Dick Anderson.
Yes.
And Judy Casper.
Here. Okay. Could I ask Allison if there are any? Are there? Okay. We'll wait just a minute to see if anyone has signed up to speak. Okay, thank you. Does anyone wish to speak who didn't sign up for urban renewal? Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to jump to down. We have nothing for minutes of past meetings. We have no presentations listed on our agenda. We have no public hearings listed for the agenda. So that jumps us down to G1, Cutler City Baywalk Sidewalk Gap Project Update and Next Steps. And this is a change in the scope of the design services. And so Allison Robertson will give a presentation or an update or a report.
Thanks, Chair Hinton and agency members. I've got a PowerPoint here with some photos, and I've also got some backup here in the audience. We have Stephanie Reed, City Engineer, and Debbie Bridges, our Finance Director. So we should, I hope, this evening be able to answer all your questions about
Before you, yes. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to say before you get started, would you let us know who you are?
Sure. Allison Robertson, in this case, Urban Renewal Director.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. So tonight on the agenda, the only item that we have that we're hoping you might be able to make a decision on is the Cutler Baywalk Sidewalk Gap section. This is actually the last capital project of the Urban Renewal Agency's year 2000 development plan area. As I know you all are aware, but for our viewing audience, since 1988 we have had one urban renewal area, which has mostly been around Highway 101 in the key commercial areas of town. And we have slowly been doing community visioning and capital improvement projects since about '99. And so the Cutler Baywalk section, this is the last gap section and the last capital project for this for this urban renewal area. So just to cover a little bit, what is the Baywalk concept? This is a concept that was envisioned in '99 as part of the Taft Community Vision Plan, and it is to provide a pedestrian connection along the Siletz Bay from Taft to the Cutler City neighborhood. We have slowly been working on different sections of this concept over time. There was, we don't know the date, the year of the ODOT highway turnout, which is just south of the Schooner Creek Bridge. That was done somewhere around, I think, the same time as our first improvement, which was about 2001. Public Works used urban renewal money to build a sidewalk in Cutler City, which is along Southwest Jetty Avenue, not all the way to the highway, but kind of more into the neighborhood along 62nd Street. So that was the first section of Baywalk that was done, which is basically a sidewalk section. And then in 2001 to 2, we built 51st Street, the large improvement project of 51st, Festive 51st as we call it. And that built about 1,800 linear feet of sidewalk along 51st that connects to Highway 101 as another portion of the Baywalk. In 2017, Urban Renewal did the Schooner Point Highway 101 turnout project, which is on Highway 101. Obviously that was in ODOT's right-of-way, and we were able to do that because we had done the design, and then we passed the baton for bidding and construction over to the Public Works Department, which is very good at that, and had a little bit of time to help us make sure that that project got online efficiently. 2018, we did the highway and Jetty Avenue connection, realigned Jetty, and that built another 315 linear feet. And then we also have a redevelopment project with Pelican Brewing that is going in at the Bay House site, and they will be required by ODOT to build out their frontage improvements that are remaining there, which will be about 250 feet. And then we also have ODOT working on the bridge, the Schooner Creek Bridge cathodic protection project, which is a couple-year project, and that will make improvements to the bridge, but I don't know, I can't remember how wide the sidewalk will be, but I guess right now they don't officially call that little refuge a sidewalk. And we all know that it's not up to ADA standards, and so we're very much appreciative and looking forward to those improvements. So that bridge is about 300 feet long, which will be another portion of the Baywalk that will be constructed. So that leaves our gap, which is about 600 feet of this design project. And I also wanted to mention that the Head to Bay Trail concept is another concept. Keep talking about all these concepts, but we have to start somewhere with an idea in order to kind of piecemeal and get things implemented on the ground. So it was, we think about 2001 with the Parks Master Plan that this idea of the Head to Bay Trail came about. And I know the city has worked on opportunities where they may exist to provide a wide mixed-use shared path sort of trail. And so in this case, our Baywalk project serves as the Head to Bay Trail section because this is the only route for all modes of transportation between Taft and Cutler City, unless people are to go miles and miles inland around. So we feel it's an important section of both the Baywalk concept and the Head to Bay Trail. So just a brief history. We started this most concertedly in May of 2016. We started with some design work, and we got to about 10% design layout, which basically said, here's roughly what the cross sections look like, and this is about where we imagine that this sidewalk would go. And so we ran it by Public Works, and we went out to take a look at the site, and Public Works and agency staff felt that we needed to convey to ODOT that we had some concerns about making an investment of sidewalk in the ODOT right-of-way when we weren't sure how long that sidewalk would be stable due to some bluff erosion in a certain section of the property. So we engaged with ODOT and asked for some repairs and asked them to take a look at it, and so they did. They made a recommendation for what they called a full slope protection for a 100-year fix, comma, or a soil nail wall. So we won't get into the minutia of engineering explanations, but they basically had some ideas about how we could help stop or slow the erosion. However, they don't view that this section is considered an emergency. It's also not a new project for them. It hasn't risen to a new project investment, and so in terms of their maintenance division and their new projects divisions, neither of them are able to promise any funding for design, engineering, or construction at this time. We also just let our regional solutions team coordinator know about the project in case we did want to ask that they step in and assist us for some reason, which we have not done. But we really just wanted to bring awareness to the project so that people were you know, of the understanding of what was happening and how much we were trying to move this project forward. So we did meet in March of 2019. We talked about some possible solutions with ODOT. Again, we got the polite response, but supportive, that they just don't have any funding, and they are willing to hear some alternatives. They just can't. Again, it's their right of way, so we need to have their buy-in, but they cannot allocate any funding. So here we are. It's just a quick aerial to show the project area. You can see the Four Brothers Rock Formation in the Siletz Bay in between Taft and Cutler City, and the red line is the section that is the gap. The Schooner Point turnout area is just to the south of that red line. Project cost estimates. So we spoke with our design engineers that we are under contract with, but we had only spent some of that design work to get to 10% design. Although we did use some of their time to try to brainstorm some ideas about how we can nudge this along. So even though we don't have more than 10% design, we did use more of that contract than what we originally anticipated. And now here we are with a point of decision about whether you all want to move forward or not. So basically the idea from our design engineers is to do a change in the scope of the design, and that would involve engaging with some geotechnical, some surveying, and some soil stabilization approaches. And so the phase 1 design would cost about $50,000. The phase 2, which would take that information and roll it into what kinds of easements would we need in order to build a project like this, and coordinate with some sub-consultants and basically come up with an engineer's cost estimate, so that we'd have an idea of how much this project would cost to construct. And they're estimating with that work to basically get to a bid-ready set of plans, about $70,000. The easements, if we do need any easements, which we imagine that we may, we do not know what the price would be for easements. And we also don't know the cost to do the environmental permitting or how long that would take. And then construction, we don't know at this time, with the new change in scope, how much construction would cost. So what is budgeted now is about $17,000 of design work, and the new design fees are estimated at $120,000. So we have about $100,000 increase just for design engineering. We don't know the cost of permitting. And construction, we don't know the cost, but we do have budgeted $250,000. I did visit with our finance director, and she provided the following table to let us know that there are funds to move forward with design if that is your decision. Although there may be some funds available after design, we don't know how much would be available, and we don't know if we would have enough to cover construction. So basically, we're happy to answer any questions. At this time, the decision would be, do you want to move forward with design and engineering, knowing that you may or may not be able, as the Urban Renewal Agency, to fund construction of the project? And then if so, staff would move forward with presenting this scenario to ODOT. And if ODOT found it agreeable, then we would contract with the design engineering firm to move forward. We would also not be able to finish the design for probably 12 to 18 months. And given that the final bond payment is June of 2021, I did talk with our urban renewal consultant, Elaine Howard, and asked the question, can we still do this project if we end up in construction after June 2021? Is that kosher? And she said yes, that it really has to do with the bonding rather than expending money for the project. So in this case, we would be completing a project that we'd already started. We would have the funds available. We wouldn't take more tax revenue than what we needed, that kind of thing. So I'll stop rambling and take any questions that you might have.
I like all your information. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry,
Staff?
Chair. I do have some photos just to run through. This is the rendering, what was originally envisioned with the 10% design. So there would be a handrail that responded to some handrail that's already there in a natural context with a wide pervious concrete to match the other head-to-bay trail portions. This is the existing site now. And so you can see there's a bit of gravel and a little bit of a dip in the highway there. This is the narrowest section of the project area. And you can see there's some fence posts. One is on the bluff itself to the left. And here you can see the fence post that's fallen. And I honestly, I know we've been watching this for a few years now, but I don't know at what year that fence post went overboard. So I can't tell you how quickly it's eroding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Question, but I sat in on the Oregon Coast Trail meeting, and this coincides with the gap. That's, you know, the exit. Well, maybe you don't, but there's a gap in the trail, and this was very specifically talked about from that point south all the way to Salishan, and then the trail goes through Salishan to the Spit and then south. So have we contacted the Oregon Coast Trail organization to see about that? Because I know on a state level, they were going to be asking, like, these are all the projects, this is the money, these are what they are, and this is the money that we need. So has that been?
No, I have not, so I can get in touch with them.
Yeah, so that might be a way in which to double on that.
Thank you.
That'd be great if they had some funding for it.
Well, it's a priority, right? So that was the explicit, you know.
Do you have any idea what a time frame would be, or would that be a question? that
Yeah, we had just had
Allison?
the one meeting to ascertain what the best case scenario would be, and we determined that instead of trying to charter people across the bay, walking on the highway would probably be the best. So, so I think that that's something that probably would work really well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think I walked that section just yesterday, and it would be nice to have it fixed up. So we need to draw another 100,000 from the urban renewal budget in order to fund the additional design work? Is that what's?
Yeah, basically you would be using your budgeted construction funds for the same project, but some of that money, a good portion of that money would be shifted over to design.
And I guess I'm wondering so then we would need to replace that money for the construction. Are we pulling money from some other urban renewal purpose that would go wanting? We don't know what that would be yet.
Yeah, it would, let's back up to the budget spreadsheet. So you have a little bit of money left over from the jetty realignment project because the construction estimates and the budget they came in under budget. And then so the 250,000 is what is budgeted for construction of this project. There are $412,000 that is anticipated to transfer to the Urban Renewal Agency Property Rehab Fund, which is our economic development toolbox for urban renewal. And the economic development toolbox, it looks like, is projected to have about 250,000 now. So you would be using, if you were to use additional funds not budgeted, you would be using economic development toolbox funds to build a capital project. And this is a tough place for the agency to be because we are at the close of our urban renewal area. So we have not overspent. We've been mindful as we've gone along with projects and kind of slowed the timing of projects to make sure that we're not, overextending ourselves and then finding ourselves in a pinch. But in this case, because of the change in the scope, you are in a pinch because you'll have to decide if you want to complete a design without knowing if you'll construct it, or if you'll want to commit to constructing it once we have more information, and if so, then what funds would you use to construct it? given all the other priorities that other partners may have, including, that's a great suggestion, the Oregon Coast Trail, or economic development funds from the county, or ODOT, or the city, all of your other typical partners for this sort of a project.
Madam Chair.
Chairman Post.
Allison, so in theory, we could steal from the 250,000 construction money to finish the design and perhaps this phase 2 design. So the entire could come out of the 250,000.
Yes, I believe without knowing the cost of the environmental permitting, you could safely say that, well, safely might be the bad word, but you could probably get a bid packet and permitted project ready. I just don't know about the construction part.
Right. So, and that's good to hear. So then my question has to do with, let's assume absent construction financing, funds available. How long does designs and these permits and things last, and viability too? Because now we've already talked about one design not working, so we're going to a potentially different design. Because if it's long enough, then I would say, much like previously brought up, there might be other funds available that we could go after grants, specifically ODOT, because they do have different sidewalk, trails, different pots of money that this would fit under. And as long as we have some to match, and potentially would.
Sure. I think it's probably safe to say within a year if you were to bid. There are things that are out of our control that can change when you wait from design and permitting to construction. We did experience that a little bit with the Schooner Point Turnout project, which we tried to get some grants for and were not successful. And so we did end up needing to pay a little bit extra to clean up the design. And there were some ADA changes that had happened, and different factors that meant that we did need to clean up that design before it was bid. So I don't think there's a rhyme or reason, but ideally within a year, I think you would build. I think with the environmental permitting, Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about a year that they ask if you want to renew your permit. Yeah.
You're getting
yeah.
confirmation from Stephanie.
So, so once you have your permit, then they at least give you the option of keeping it current, with the understanding that you are working towards using it. There is a project in Cutler City, the Bay access improvements at, I think it was 66th, that we had design and permit for, but we had decided, based on budgeting and Urban Renewal Agency objectives, not to move forward with construction of that project. And so we did tell, I think it was DSL, that we no longer wanted to keep the permit current. So that's always an option.
Anyone else? Would anyone like to move this forward with a motion?
Yeah, I would. I'm actually satisfied with making a motion to go ahead and change the project design and engineering scope, going through phase 1 and 2 with ODOT support, and take it up to construction, not through construction, but up to construction.
Second?
Yes. We have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? This has to do with money, so I guess we'll do a roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Hinton,
Yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Coos,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Parsons.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And
Yes.
I'd just say, again, that even though Allison has stated it, this really is that final gap that would finish off, from the south coming north of our entrance and sidewalk, and you've already seen the positive appeal of what's happened in the south end of town. And I do think there are buckets of money that we can match up with ODOT and apply for it.
Let's hope, yeah. Okay, thank you, Allison. Moving on, our agenda, we have no resolutions, and we haven't had an executive session or work session to discuss anything, so we have no comments there. Are there any comments from agency members? A quiet bunch tonight, so therefore we are adjourned, 6 o'clock. Mr. Mayor.
Mics are still on.